are the glaciers important? They are important because they have something to tell us.
Probably the most obvious impact of climatic change globally is the melting or recession of glaciers. And this has been called the Canary in the global coal mine. Here in Iceland we have glaciers that are very responsive to these changes.
So the glacier is retreating a lot and it's melting average every year around 20 to 50 meters, so it depends on the year how much it is melting. So for example, above the glacier lagoon, so where the glacier is in contact with the water, it increased the melting. So we have about 300 meters that we are losing every year. So the cliffs that we are seeing here are so smooth because the glacier has kind of like curved the mountainside. So as the glacier was moving forward down the valley, it was scraping the mountainside, causing the mountain to look like this. And it has pretty much curved out all the landscape that we see around here. So like the valleys and everything is sort of formed by the glacier. The natural cycle of a glacier is that it retreats for a time and then it grows for a time. But now we've only seen a really long period of the glacier retreating, so not getting bigger. So it's hard to tell if it will grow again at some point, but at this moment it looks like it's only retreating.
If all fresh water in the world would melt, and it would contribute to a 60 or 70 meter rise.
The water that melts from the glacier goes into the sea, helping to raise the sea level, and that will have different impact on the globe.
You can have a lot of glacial melt, and this actually creates a kind of a freshwater film on the ocean. And this is bad, because we want to mix the ocean regularly. That creates productivity, like you're stirring in a pot. So that's good for ocean life. But when you have a lot of fresh water from glaciers, then it makes a film on the over the salty water, and this reduces production in the ocean in many areas. Well, mostly it affects the photosynthesis, so the phytoplankton. It doesn't get enough nutrients because the nutrients are in the deeper waters, and something has to bring them up regularly, the nutrients, so the phytoplankton can grow. And the nutrients are just same as fertilizers that the farmers put on the field. And this freshwater film will stop that. So the phytoplankton will not be able to grow unless much slower. This means there's less food for the zooplankton that eats the phytoplankton, and this means there's less food for the small fish that eat the zooplankton, and then the big fish have less small fish. So it's a kind of it will stop one part of the chain and it will affect the entire. I think the main role of the glaciers is that they are kind of reservoirs. So we are damming a lot of the rivers from the glaciers. So they they accumulate the snow in the winter, then they melt off, and they feed into the dams, which make electricity. So we have a lot of electricity here. And if we don't have these glaciers, it will affect that.
For this area, there are various side effects. The rivers that flow from the glaciers, they change their courses, they move to other places. This can cause some problems. It makes some infrastructure that's cost a lot of money become obsolete. What's happening here, the same thing is happening in Greenland and in Antarctica, but on a much, much larger scale. And so that's the lesson to take from this, is that glaciers are melting here, and they're melting all over the world. And we need to try to keep the big picture in mind when we talk about these things.
The big problem is like small coral islands in the Pacific. Countries like Bangladesh is a big problem because they are very low, so you don't have to be a high increase in the sea level, so a big part of the country will go underwater. And some of the coastal cities, etc., they will be affected by sea level rise. But it has been predicted that the winners will be the northern countries. We will get warmer. But the thing is, these countries are already rich. The losers are countries that are already poor, like poor countries around Ecuador, you know, Bangladesh, India, these countries. They might get more drought, they might get sea level rise. So the problem is that global warming is causing the poor probably to get poorer and the rich maybe get richer, which is kind of unfair, right?
For me, I guess the thing about glacier recession on a personal level is the loss of beauty, because I've become very attached to this type of landscape, this type of environment, and imagining how things will look in this place in 10 years, 50 years, 100 years. After 100 years, according to the most exact forecast that we have, all of this ice will be gone. And so there won't be a glacier. And if there isn't any glacier, then there isn't any glacial beauty. And then you have to ask, how important is beauty in the world? And of course, it's a different type of value from from biodiversity or human suffering. But that doesn't mean that it's not important. It's just important in a different way.
This is a question of not that actually we can survive with it. We can survive with it, I think. But what happens to the nature? This is happening so fast.